All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever stopped to think if every single breath you take is actually useful? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer is surprisingly deep. Today, we're tackling ventilation and dead space, a topic that's absolutely high yield for your anesthesia finals. And honestly, it's fundamental to understanding what we do every single day.
So let's ask it again. Is every breath you take doing its job? The short answer? Nope, not even close. A pretty big chunk of the air we move with each breath is really just along for the ride. It never gets to the point of actually exchanging gases. And that, right there, is where this whole concept of dead space comes into play.
So let's lock this definition in your brain. Dead space is simply the volume of air you breathe in that doesn't participate in gas exchange. It's the ultimate inefficiency. You can think of it as ventilation without perfusion. You're putting in all the work to move the air, but that air isn't doing any work for you.
Okay, to really get a grip on dead space, we need to break it down. There are two main physiological types that make up this wasted ventilation inside the body. Let's start with the one that's kind of obvious, the part of the system that's basically just plumbing. And that is anatomical dead space. Just picture your trachea, your bronchi, your bronchioles. They're like the hallways and corridors of your lungs. Air has to travel through them to get to where the magic happens, the alveoli. But absolutely no gas exchange can happen in these passages. They're just for getting the air from point A to point B. So how much air are we talking about here? Well, in your average 70-kilogram adult, it's about 150 milliliters. Now, for your exams, a fantastic rule of thumb is just 2 milliliters per kilogram. Think about that for a second. That means about a third of every single quiet breath you take is just filling up these airways, never even seeing a red blood cell. Next up, we have alveolar dead space. And this is where things start to get a lot more clinically interesting. In this case, the air makes it all the way to the alveoli, the destination, but there's no blood flow waiting for it. The perfusion is either really bad or totally absent. It's like a delivery driver arriving at an empty house. No one's home to sign for the package. No blood flow means no gas exchange, plain and simple. So when you add it all up, the hallways, which is our anatomical dead space, and the empty houses, our alveolar dead space, you get the total physiological dead space. This is the grand total of all the air you breathe in that doesn't help get oxygen into the blood or carbon dioxide out. This table right here, this is pure gold for your exams. The biggest thing to take away is that in a healthy person who's sitting upright, alveolar dead space is practically zero. Ventilation and perfusion are beautifully matched, but in conditions like COPD, a pulmonary embolism, or any state with low cardiac output, it can shoot up, causing a massive VQ mismatch and, some serious trouble. Okay, so we've defined it, we've categorized it, but how do we actually measure this wasted breath? There are two classic methods you absolutely have to know for your finals. One's for the pipes, and the other is for the whole physiological shebang. To get a handle on the anatomical dead space, we use a really clever technique called Fowler's method. The whole idea is to wash out all the nitrogen that's normally in the lungs with one huge breath of 100% oxygen. Then, as the patient breathes out, we watch the nitrogen levels. The exact moment we see that nitrogen-rich air from the alveoli pop up tells us the volume of the airways that didn't have any in them. It's pretty smart. And here's what the readout looks like. You see that first flat bit? That's pure oxygen coming out of the anatomical dead space. Then, boom, that sharp upward curve in nitrogen, that's the signal that alveolar gas is now being exhaled. The volume that came out right before that rise is our anatomical dead space. Now for the total physiological dead space, we turn to the famous Bohr equation. Seriously, this is a cornerstone of respiratory physiology. It's brilliant because it just compares the CO2 level in arterial blood, your PaCO₂, with the CO2 in the air you exhale, your end-tidal CO2. The bigger the gap between those two numbers, the more that fresh CO2-free air from the dead space is diluting your expired gas. Normally, this ratio should be somewhere between 0.2 and 0.35. So we can define it, we can measure it, but why does this all matter so much to us in the operating room? Well, this is where all that theory becomes absolutely critical for keeping our patients safe. Because in anesthesia, we always introduce a third kind of dead space, mechanical dead space. This isn't part of the patient. This is our equipment. The volume in the face mask, the connectors on the ET tube, the bits and pieces of the breathing circuit. The source material uses the perfect analogy here, a snorkel. When you breathe out through a snorkel, you fill it with your used CO2-rich air. So on your next breath, what's the very first thing you breathe back in? That same stale gas. That is rebreathing, and it's exactly what happens when mechanical dead space gets out of control.
But it's not just our gear. General anesthesia itself creates a perfect storm for increasing dead space. You put the patient flat on their back, you paralyze them, you take away their natural PEEP. All of this leads to a drop in lung volume, which encourages airways to close and makes any existing V/Q mismatch way, way worse. This is why we have to be so vigilant.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Time for a rapid-fire review. If you're cramming for the exam, these are the absolute must-know points. Let's run through the types one more time. Anatomical, that's the pipes, about 2 mils per kilo. Physiological, that's the total wasted breath, the sum of anatomical and alveolar. Alveolar, basically nothing in healthy lungs, but a huge problem in disease. And mechanical, that's the extra bit we add with our kit. And yes, we're showing it to you one last time, the Bohr equation. This is your key to figuring out how much ventilation is being wasted right at the bedside. You have to understand what it's telling you and know the normal values. It's a lifesaver.
And family may be the most important clinical pearl of all. Minute ventilation can be so misleading. You can have a patient breathing super fast and shallow with a totally normal or even high minute ventilation. But if each of those tiny breaths is just moving air in and out of the dead space, their alveolar ventilation is in the toilet and their CO2 is going to climb. It's the effective ventilation that counts. For a much deeper dive on all this, I really recommend checking out the source material we used for this explainer. As you head into your next exam or your next case, just remember this. Our job isn't just about moving air. It's about making sure that air gets to where the blood is. That is the critical difference between just breathing and actually respirating.